I don't know, 20 minutes. No decisions were made. We'll reopen the meeting right now. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to authorize Mr. Chris Burton, representing the board, to undertake negotiations for the purposes of separating employment with the superintendent.
Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Discussion? No further discussion? Roll call vote on this? Yes, Art?
I think I'd like to discuss it only because
Okay.
if
Absolutely.
whatever we say now, then it's too late to even say anything. I think you deserve to hear what people think. I was all for extending Rick's contract for a number of reasons, but it's going to be moot now, I think. But in any case, we're all here, this board, and really anyone who wants to take the time should be on this board for the purpose of helping the students in this district and helping the educational facility, whatever we can do to make it better. I was not impressed particularly with the complaints against him. It seemed to me that there's a bit of whining going on. I've been involved with some pretty good sized organizations, and I think I can have a feeling, and I don't know as many people here, as I don't know hardly any of the people in a way, since I'm fairly new, but I can sense things when I see them, and that's one thing I didn't like. When you have a situation that we have in this state of having a very, very strong union, whether just irrespective of whether the local is strong or not, there's a barrier that is created that makes it difficult for the two sides, administration and the teachers, to actually have that close relationship that they would all like if they, absent that. You can say, well, yeah, we've seen, there's all kinds of, examples perhaps of superintendents that are really well loved. Well, yeah, if you say yes all the time, you're going to be well loved. But this is a business as well, and you can't do it that way. And so I'm just sorry to see that this is the way it's happening. Rick is doing the thing that he's doing. We've decided what we're going to be doing here because he thinks it's best for the school. It's pretty, I think it was awfully not only bold, but also tells me what kind of person that Rick is. And maybe some of you just didn't know that part of him. And that's too bad. In relationship to that, I guess I'd like to read a letter that I was hoping that the board is going to have a chance to give to the community. I do this. I write a lot of things to the board, and they sometimes like them and sometimes they don't. But I want to just read what I had said, because I think it's there's a lot of things that need to be aired here, and the board, whatever the makeup is going to have to address some of these things. This is what I was going to say. Because the Naselle Grays River School bond measure failed to obtain the required 60% approval, the school board, administrative staff, along with many volunteers on the bond committee, all realized we need to go back to the drawing boards. The board also feels the need to help refine and articulate what district residents wish their school district to provide beyond minimum required education for our children. In today's environment, where so many taxpayers are worried about the economy, rising costs of living, or uncounted personal issues, it's difficult to obtain approval of a voluntary tax, even for a school project. That construction and interest because construction interest costs are so very low right now, greatly affected the board's decision to place it on the ballot twice. It was a mistake to run the second election so soon after the first, in my opinion, but the board accepts this decision with humility and added experience. Because the vast majority of district residents are silent about school business, attempting to distill in one ballot measure proposed school facility needs is not an easy task. Because 56% of voters did approve the measure the first time means that there's some serious interest in doing that and doing something, but we need to determine more carefully what it is. The board was considering an opinion survey of all district residents to help us determine what truly is desired of our school district in Naselle and Grays River, including the physical building needs. Neither boards nor teachers have the kinds of latitude they once did in decades past. Administering and educating in school districts today is problematic because of the ever-growing control by Olympia and Washington, D.C. The very independent education that once took place in our old one-room school buildings and later in multiple locations like Rossburg have been gradually displaced because of intricate, expensive rules and regulations created by an ever-increasing power of central bureaucracy and all that entails, enforced by withholding funds. For the district consisting of rather independent citizens, like we have here, this trend has been a gradual negative effect on maintaining district pride and morale. When every district must adhere to a blanket set of rules, regulations, and curriculum, district individuality and freedom to choose a unique Naselle-Grays River path becomes even more elusive. This board is frustrated that districts are forced to accept programs such as the Common Core curriculum requirements that we have no way to refuse, although it was our state legislators' choice to accept or reject. It's easier to criticize if one is not aware of the maze of bureaucracy and that is education today, both for administration and teaching personnel. Nevertheless, there are legitimate areas that we do have some control over, and we intended to address them more fully. There isn't one member of this board who feels permanently entitled to their position. In fact, some of us feel like you can take this job and shove it. However, balance always returns, and the idea of end goal of helping taxpayers, parents, and teachers make this the best possible school district for our students dominates our intentions and remains our goal, our constant goal, even with the constraints under which we operate. There have been a few visible critics of the district of late. It is perhaps too easy to dismiss them because of history or associations exacerbated by anonymity, distortions, and other rumblings inherent in a small community. There are indeed some valid questions raised, and it's our goal to have the dialogue necessary to incorporate some suggestions. Communication is probably the major overall issue, as it is with any entity of this size. And this is one area in which this board was willing and anxious to improve, as is the administration. We don't believe any disagreements are beyond reconciliation. We're not omniscient, but often it seems that the critics sometimes and the public often think that the board or staff feels that way. That's the last thing that this board feels like is omniscient. So I was hoping that we just ask for your help, but this letter probably won't be going out. But I wanted to just let you know what I thought. I had a chance to talk with Karen Werkele recently, and in her office, and get some details to what she's. You should see, for those of you who are not familiar, the kinds of stuff that she has to do that's totally separate from anything having to do with education. She's got binders that she has to keep that is full of stuff that you wouldn't even want to look at unless you want to go to sleep. And it's this kind of stuff that is getting in our way, and it takes someone knowledgeable as a superintendent to help people get through this kind of baloney. And it's not the same as it was 20 years ago, or certainly 30 years ago. So, but you know, the school will survive, will continue. I'm just sorry that it's going to be done in the way in which it's done.
Not one of you people out there knows how to run a school. This is not just a school. This is a business. We do not get the funds that we need to fully fund and do the things we need to do for the school. And you better thank God that John and Dr. Pass have been able to keep us where we are today. They were innovative in getting the CVA program. Everybody was against that. They said it's not going to work. Without that program, about 1/3 of the teachers here would be gone. Instead, we were able to keep your 2% thing, state cut, because of the district and their financial ability. The number of computers, we've tried to drag you guys into the 21st century using computers, but there's always somebody who balks at this sort of stuff. You don't like the fingerprint thing? Well, you better get used to it, because that's just the start. In 15 years, in 20 years, you are not going to recognize this school. You have to keep moving forward. If you don't, you're going to get exactly what you people are desiring. a mediocrity school.
Further discussion?
Yeah, I got a little bit here. I support Rick's pass, especially his decision not to be a distraction to the task of education here, and I believe that you won't find a more qualified individual. And I could hardly recommend the Naselle School District any serious administrator who promotes progressive education at this point. I believe Naselle's enrollment will continue to decline as its reputation of provincialism is only reinforced by this event. A no outsiders wanted policy isn't conducive to growth, both economic or population. Be careful what you want, because you're going to probably get it.
Further discussion?
One more thing to say. How many of you people have ever been out to another foreign country? I just like a simple hand.
I served my country.
Oh, good, good.
Don't call these people.
All right. We're not going to get into this type of exchange. Understand? Right now, the board is in discussion. There is no community input at this time by Robert's Rules of Parliamentary Procedure. Understood? Thank you.
What my point is that this country is changing. And if we don't keep up with what's going on around in the world, you're going to fall behind. You're going to get what you guys asked for.
Okay. Is that it on the discussion? There's a motion on the table. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Roll call, you're gonna have.
I don't have to. Not if it's unanimous. I can take roll call. We'll go roll call vote. Art?
No.
Ed?
Aye.
And I voted aye on this, but the only thing I have to say, I was gonna have Rick contract run out and then to let it run, but he chooses, he didn't want to do it that way because he wants a 3-year, and I don't blame him for not giving it, so I'm voting that, yes on this. Authorized.
Against protest, I'll vote aye.
I vote aye. Motion carries 4-1. Okay, moving on. Item C, 8C, report. WI classification, Russ.
So this is just information. We're not taking action on this. It's just an update to let you know what's ahead of us in the next couple of years. Go ahead. So I just want to cover a couple bases. This is this next year will be the last year of the 2-year cycle for the WI classification. They're taking P223 counts right now, starting in January. We'll go through November. It'll take November count twice, which kind of gives us a 12-month average, and then they'll average it out. And then in December, the WI will reclassify the state. And the numbers will change, but the idea is to make an equal opportunity for all schools in a classification to garner one of those 16 spots at state tournament. So that's just kind of the lay of the land here for that. December, we'll find out where we are. I think we can probably pretty much tell where we're going to be, but it'll be official come December. So why reclassify? The state would like to have the same number of schools in each classification. You will notice that a couple years ago, we were all pretty much equal after they reclassified the state, somewhere around 60-some schools in each classification. However, if you take a look at the bottom of this chart, you'll notice that it's been really skewed. There are some that believe that the 4A schools have 67 schools vying for 16 spots. Well, then you take a look at the 2Bs, and there's only 48 schools vying for those 16 spots. So why reclassify? Well, that's to give everybody an equal chance. Opting up is always a problem in this reclassification. You'll know that we have opted up. We were really a 1B school. We've opted up to be a 2B. So is Valley, so is PL, some other schools, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. But that 48 number is too low. They say that the ratio's got to be up higher, so they're going to reclassify the entire state. And you'll see that enrollment numbers there, 4A right now is 1304 and above. And you can figure out the numbers as you go down. Smallest school in the state is in our district is 4 students. Okay, go ahead, Greg. So this is just a chart showing you the entire state. On the left-hand column are the districts. District 1 is up Canadian border, Linden Christian, Blaine, Meridian, Nooksack, all those. District 2 is in Seattle area. District 3 is the largest district in the state around Tacoma and up the Olympic Peninsula. And then our District 4. So if you take a look, there's 11 1B schools in District 4. You will notice that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 others that are in double figures. So there's a few districts that supply most of the 1B schools in the state. The numbers in parentheses on that chart are those schools that opt up. That means that they are one size and they're opting up to the next size. Most of the 3A schools that you see on that list, and that's where most of the opt-ups occur in the WI reclassification, they do it because they're league driven. They want to stay together and they don't mind a 3A playing a 4A in league contests. And of course then everybody's got their own thing to do in postseason. So that chart just tells you of the 389 schools in the state where they are in terms of classifications and districts. So we've got a unique situation happening on our side in our District 4. These are the District 4 1B schools. St. Paul Academy down at the bottom is really not even involved in athletics. They're the school that's got 4 students. The ones in the blue, from top to bottom, Oakville, Lake Quinault, Tahola, Merriam, Knight, and North River, without getting into an hour-long discussion about why, they have disbanded the old Coastal, 1B Coastal League because of problems with Tahola. And they will not, under any circumstance, come back into a league because that will allow Tahola an avenue to come back into the league, and they don't want to be involved with the school. So they are playing independent from here on out. It is up to District 4 to decide the post-season route that they'll take in contest. We have some things to take a look at. On this side of the mountains, District 3 has only 3 1B schools, Crescent, Neah Bay, and Cloud Bay. If you know where those are, it's about a 3-day journey by wagon into Neah Bay. All right? So that's going to be one possibility that the district may say, well, you have the option of joining that league. Not only is it in another district, it's in District 3 and we're District 4, it's the distance and obviously the travel would be astronomical. Okay. We really have 3 or 4 decisions. The Port Angeles District 3 group with Neah Bay and Cloud Bay and Crescent would be an option, but it wouldn't be a very good option. The middle one is to join the Vancouver schools. Now this is if we were going to jump into a league. Would be to join the Vancouver leagues, the 1B Columbia Valley League. I think there are, I'd have to go back and look, I think there are maybe 4 schools in that league right now, all Christian schools. And then the other one would be to become independent, like the other 1B coastal teams, and play most of our contests at Merriam, Knight, Oakville, Wishkah, those in the Shelton, Aberdeen area. There is another one that I didn't put up there because we're still kind of, I brought this to the board last time about a multi-classification league where we might pull in some A schools, some 2B schools, and some 1B schools in this lower Columbia area here and try to form a league. I contacted all the schools in the area, and some are for and some are against. And schools like Wakayakum are very interested in coming our way. Of course, it would be in their best interest because if you knew who was coming down in the 2B league in the next classification period, schools like Toledo, and it's going to be pretty tough for those small schools to survive in that league. Okay, go ahead. So the challenge is that there's really no 1B league to jump into if we decide to as Norland Packman would say, grow where we are planted. All right, so Tahola's situation has forced us into the Coastal League, and therefore all of those schools are playing independent. Yes, we could schedule them as, maybe we want to play them, maybe we don't, that kind of an independent schedule, but there really is no league to go to unless we form one or unless we travel to District 3 or go up to Vancouver. Okay, next one here, please. The other challenges are postseason. Obviously, it's kind of a bitter pill to swallow when other leagues dictate to you how you're going to get to postseason. I had a lot of experience when I was at Fort Townsend with the multi-classification league, and this is one of the biggest problems. The ultimate decision will be made by District 4 and helping those schools figure out a way to get to postseason. You're going to have to work with several leagues to make postseason happen. When you do that, you get some vindictiveness and some kinds of situations in which they really put you at a disadvantage, or your kids and your teams. Okay, go ahead. The other challenges in playing an independent schedule is that you're not seeing those long-time rival schools, those traditional rival schools. You may not ever see them again, or you may see them inconsistently. Some schedules you may not be able to complete because there's just nobody to play. I mean, you could play the same school 2 or 3 times. You know, if you had only 4 schools in the league, 3 times each, that'd be 12 games, and you're you know, in basketball you're looking at 20, so you're still trying to fill out a schedule. Filling the football schedule seems to be a real disaster for an independent, because once schools get into league games, coaches traditionally don't want to risk playing some non-league game in the middle of their league schedule. So at times, football schedules can be really difficult to schedule. So remember a couple things. Going 1B and staying where we are means 8-man football, but opting up means you're playing schools that are over twice your size. So you're at a disadvantage there. Okay. So I just put together some numbers for you to just kind of think about here. This new amendment was just passed by the Rep Assembly this spring. We used to count 10, 11, and 12 grades, but the 12th graders always just jumped ship. They were out, and their numbers, small or large, really affected your school, but yet they weren't a part of the count. So now they decided to count 9, 10th, and 11th grades. And the other thing that was rejected was a 4-year cycle where they locked you in for 4 years. You couldn't change classifications, even if something happened to your district where you lost a lot of kids. That was rejected. So we're back to the 2 years cycle. Every 2 years they'll reclassify. So take a look at Naselle's numbers. Looking at not next year, but the first year in the new recycling cycle, which would be 2014, 2015, in our 9th, 10th, and 11th grades that we'd be counting, the numbers are there. So this year's 7th graders, 8th graders, and 9th graders would be those 3 classes that dictate where we are. So you can see the numbers: 9 girls and 7 boys in the 9th grade, 10 girls and 4 boys, 13 girls and 10 boys, and Rick, go ahead and flip it. That's 53 students. So I don't think, no matter what the numbers of the WIA reclassification system are going to be, we're going to be 1B. 53, by the way, is a drop from 73 this year. So at that point in time, in that next cycle, we'll have 21 boys and 32 girls to deal with in our program. So, and I also just kind of jumped down a couple of grades. Looking down at 3, 4, and 5, there are numbers. So we're not, we may get a little better in terms of some numbers, but we're still not going to be a threat to move out of 1B. So I think long term, our numbers are going to stick us in the 1B classification, which we are now. So that is going to be the decision that we're going to have to make in the next year or so. Schools are already starting to kind of align and trying to figure out numbers. We just got another request today from the district. They want to know what our 9th, 10th, 11th numbers are going to be for next year. And those I just sent on to the district, and that'll be 69 students that we're counting to put us in our classification. So, anybody guys have any questions?
Is there any discussion about possibly opting into the 11-man football?
It is not allowed by WI rules right now. The amendment that was going to be proposed for that fell through in Rep Assembly. At this point, there are no options. If you remember in the old days, you could choose 11 or 8-man football. But right now, the way it sits, WI says if you are 1B, you will play 8-man, and everybody else will play 11-man.
You can play 11-man during before the tournament, you, as a 1B, you have to go in
You
have to go in the 1B tournament. You could play, like, say we wanted to play South Bend or something.
Yeah.
As a non-league game, you could play them, but that wouldn't count, I think.
Right.
But there is a change that you may not know about. Morton White Pass is right on the borderline of going over, so they're talking about going back to a 1B school because they got too many kids that stay in 2B, so they're talking about that. Now, another one was that PL is waiting to see what we're gonna do, and they might come down 1B. And I talked to Valley, maybe they'll change their tune. I talked to their coach.
Valley's indicated they are not coming down.
Yeah, that's what he said,
Yeah.
so that's what the story is. But the one thing the District 4 secretary told me, he said we need to go with the 1B and then the independent. And that way you can play it, we can play Catlanta, we can play South Bend, we can play Valley, we can play Raymond, or whoever we can get a game with. And there, a lot of them will probably go ahead and play us with tradition. But there is another side that might cause a little problem. Duaco is about ready to come down, and they figured they would be back up. I don't know if you heard it, that's the last word I heard.
Right.
But the district secretary recommended we go 1B and go independent. And that's what I would recommend to the board.
That's it? Okay, thank you.
Okay, question?
Okay, D, approved school year calendar, 2013 and 14.
Move to approve the 2013 school calendar.
Second.
Then moved and seconded, discussion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Approved school board resolution delegating authority to the WIA for 2013, 2014.
I move to approve the school board resolution delegating authority to the WIA.
I'll second.
Then moved and seconded, discussion.
Is there any reasonable option, or is there any reason not to?
You have to be a part of the WIA, so the option is don't do it, you're not part of it.
Further discussion.
Not really much to discuss. If you do it or you don't play.
Then moved and seconded, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Approve use of school transportation for summer swim program.
I move to approve transportation for the summer swim program.
Second.
Then moved and seconded, discussion. No discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Approve use of vans for transportation to summer football, volleyball, basketball, and cheerleading activities.
I move to approve the use of vans for transportation to summer league football, volleyball, basketball, and cheerleading.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded, discussion. Discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Approve the UW-CEL 5D plus evaluation tool for teachers.
I move to approve NGR VSD school improvement plan for 2013 through 16.
That's the wrong one. Wrong one.
Excuse me. I move to approve the use of the University of Washington Center for Educational Leadership 5 Dimensions of Teaching and Learning Evaluation Tool for Teachers. Is that wrong? All right.
Thank you. Been moved and seconded, all those in favor, discussion?
Yep. Would
Discussion.
someone like to explain it a little bit more?
I'm gonna turn to, well, there were three models that the state approved. The school could choose from, or they could develop their own, my understanding is. So maybe I can have Karen or John or Lisa tip in on this a little more. This is the one that the teachers and the administrators selected. It needs to be board approved.
Well, the current evaluation tool that we have only had a two-tier, that is satisfactory, unsatisfactory. so in Washington State, along with, the majority of the states in the country have gone to a 5-tier